What's up, guys? Welcome into another edition of Bogey Free. I'm your host, Matt Jones. You can find me on Twitter at MattJonesTFR. I have returned from my seemingly month-long vacation in Florida, and I am back. I'm being joined, of course, as always, by Axis. You can find him on Twitter at Axis_DFS. And Alex Blickle, you could find on Twitter at AlexBlickle1. So, guys, catch me up. What did I miss?
I mean, Scottish Open was fun. I mean, I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that tournament greatly. Yeah, I mean, it feels like you missed a ton as far as golf content and news. There's a whole nother tour that had a whole nother event and everything.
Oh man, was there?
Yeah, have you heard of the Live Tour yet, Matt?
I didn't know. I didn't know it was still happening. I thought that was over.
Yeah, that died in February at the Genesis.
Yep. R.I.P. Yeah, no, I deleted Twitter off my phone, and I just had a true vacation. I think I tweeted one thing about Scott Fishbowl yesterday, but other than that, I think I only have one tweet in July. So we're getting back into the swing of things slowly here.
You came back for the 150th Open Championship. I mean, what better way to just dive back in? I mean, it could have been like the Rocket Mortgage.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's very easy to get excited about this week. So that was definitely a motivating factor in dusting off my simulator this week and hoping for the best here. So we should just dive right into it. Little known course, unfortunately, not a lot of information about it. Some course called St. Andrews. Alex, what are we looking at here, man? I was just going through your course fit here and saw some interesting names. But why don't you talk us through a couple things that stood out to you, and then we could kick it over to Axis.
Yeah, so the course fit model this week is more of an Open Championship fit week. It's a similar strategy to what we used for the US Open and the PGA Championship, basically running in the model on the event history instead of just a specific course, because we don't have sufficient data on St. Andrews alone. And the thought behind this is basically like if every Open Championship tests players in a different way, you're going to see a pretty weak course fit model that's centered around PGA Tour averages, and it's just not going to tell us a whole lot. If, on the other hand, you see a really strong and unique model, then you know, okay, whether it's the way the RNA selects courses or the way they set up the courses for the Open Championship, or a mix of both, the Open Championship, from one year to the next, is testing golfers in a very specific, similar way. That's what we see. This is actually the most unique course fit model that we see all season. 42% of the weight goes to approach play, 50% to around the green. Those are both massive numbers, both probably the two highest that we see all season. And it's really interesting because off the tee, whether you're looking at distance or accuracy, 0% weight this week in the course fit model. And I think we can explain that pretty easily with the really firm conditions. First and foremost for distance, because it's sort of like the great equalizer. If you're hitting the fairway, the ball's just going to run and run and run. There's not a whole lot that's going to stop it. So the shorter guys can actually compete from a distance perspective this week. And I think the real, the biggest way that the predictive value of off the tee is really diminished this week is the pot bunkers. Specifically, you can make a great swing and hit a good shot and end up with a one-stroke penalty in a pot bunker, or you can make a really terrible swing and get lucky because you end up in the fescue with a decent lie. You're hitting up to the green, and so it's weird in the sense that it really reminds me of Oakmont. If you remember Oakmont, they have those they call them ditches on right off the fairway, and so you're better off missing the fairway by 20 yards than 2 yards. And I actually played a state open there three summers ago, and I hit it in the ditch over and over and over again. The guys I was playing with were just blowing it everywhere with clear shots from 30 yards in the rough, and it was driving me crazy. And you see a similar sort of idea play out in a lot of these Open Championships, where some of the better swings end up being severely penalized, and some of the worst swings end up just okay. You're hitting up to the green in two. You have a really good chance to make par. So the predictive value of off the tee is just super diminished this week. And I think more than anything else, it's because there's so much variance off the tee, and you don't get what we usually get off the tee, which is a good swing typically equals a good shot. That isn't necessarily the case here.
Yeah, I'm in a similar boat for what you said. I did prefer some distance this week, though. I mean, there's just so many par fours on this course, very wind dependent, that could be drivable for the longer guys. Not that the shorter guys are necessarily at a huge disadvantage, because like you said, they can still roll it up there. Obviously, as long as you avoid the pot bunkers. But in general, though, yeah, it's an open, it's links course, and everything I've read says firm and fast, tight lies. So that just screams, touch around the greens, right? And around the green, I mean, you extend that to 60, 70 yards. Like, you're going to see some weird stuff this week. If you're not familiar with opens, or you haven't watched a lot of links golf, maybe you're new to golf, like, hopefully we see different shots than you normally do. Like, it'll be a little different than the Scottish even. Like, I went and rewatched a little of the end of the 2015 here, and it was a little wet and damp, and guys were actually spinning the ball quite a bit on the greens, and you could tell the commenters were pretty not annoyed by just like, hey, this is what happens sometimes. The humidity came in, they didn't have a lot of wind, but I can't imagine we're going to see that based on what I've been reading. And that's just going to test the short game. There's going to be a lot of short irons and creative shots that you're going to see this week.
Yeah.
And that's kind of hard to predict in general, right? I mean, how many, we don't have stats on guys who are punching 8 irons from 15 yards off the green.
I think that's probably part of why around the green is so predictive here, because it is the one area of golf where you have to consistently be creative. Like, you on the PGA Tour, you're not going to get creative iron shots very often. For the most part, you're just making a good swing and hitting to a target. Whereas around the green, you do get those instances where you either have to hit one really high with a lot of spin, or maybe you're bumping one into a slope or into a face to an elevated green, that type of thing. So like, outside of Bubba Watson deciding to curve a ball 40 yards on a standard 8-iron, you just don't see a whole lot of creativity in any other aspect of the game. So I think that's probably part of why around the green is so predictive in Open Championships.
And they're massive greens too. I think in 2015, if I remember, it was well over 70% of greens were hit. Like, they're and that's not going to capture around the green, but that just tells you, like, when they're missed, like, you have to focus or bogeys are happening. Like, I was watching them coming down the closing stretch, and even when it wasn't as firm, like, I mean, I watched Jason Day putt one on 17 on the road hole from, I don't remember how many yards off the green. It was nuts. And you look at that, and on a regular day, like you said, he'd take out a wedge, he'd chip it up, it would skip and stop, and he'd be done. So like, when you miss these greens, like, that's just what you're just faced with a shot that you have to hit, or you're going to look at a bogey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I approached it a similar way this week too, with my sim. The way that I like quantify volatility, I just took event, like the standard deviation for general opens. Not I didn't dive down into just St. Andrews, because like Alex was saying, it's not really, if you only have a few events worth of data, it's those numbers especially can get very wonky, and then you're just it's
especially
just
with the weather.
Yeah, it's just a garbage in, garbage out situation. So not really trying to do that. So as far as our cards go, should we save the consensus?
I think we should save the
hashtag
consensus.
Yeah, we'll get to him
consensus
after a couple favorites.
All right, let's do this a little differently. Let's take a look and see, because I think I have the fewest the fewest guys on my card this week. Saving some bullets for some live ads. No, just didn't really see any. Didn't really see a ton of value, and didn't really want to force
the
anything.
Powder dry, Matt. Keep the powder dry.
Gotta make sure we're ready. All right. So in sort of like the under, I don't know where you want to call it, like favorites, like under the
30,
under 50 to 1 for sure. I know Alex is interested in JT and Cam Smith. Why don't you sell us on those hacks real quick, Alex? What do you see in there?
I was shocked to see JT at 22. I have him as the highest rated golfer in the field this week. I believe you do as well in your player rater, if I saw that correctly. He's just a phenomenal golfer, and you look at like historical top 10 rates. He's second only behind John Rahm in the expected wins, win rate, top 3 rate. Anything you look at, he's one of the best in the world. And then you get into the course fit. And approach play and around the green are the two that are popping. JT's at 0.92 baseline strokes gained per round with his approach play, 0.31 around the green. Those are both world class. You just really can't find a better course fit here. He's also like, if he does have a weakness, it's his putting. It's at least his most inconsistent aspect. But putting isn't very predictive here. And I meant to get into this in the course fit discussion, but I think one of the reasons it's not that predictive is, number one, you have so much undulation on these greens that sometimes it's less about how good you are at putting and more about just where you are on the green. Sometimes you can just end up in a horrific spot that doesn't matter how good you are. There's not much you can do. And the second thing is, typically these greens, because of the winds and because of this undulation, they can't get them as fast as what PGA Tour courses are accustomed to. So you're then getting this major speed change, which of course can have an effect on the predictability of who's going to be putting really well. And so all these like aspects, whether it's the enhancement on approach play or around the green play, or the diminished predictive value of putting, all speak to Justin Thomas, one of the best players in the world. Certainly he already has a major this year. He just shouldn't be 22-1. I think he should be 15 at the most.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I also have a play on Justin Thomas. He, like you mentioned, he is the top guy in the field for me. By over a tenth of a stroke clear per round, clear of everybody else. So that's a pretty significant chunk, a significant advantage there. And what is he like? Depending on the book, like the 6th, 7th-ish guy on the board, which is just a little silly for me personally. So I'm pretty much like right at my threshold sort of betting wise from the sim, but I think it's just one of those things where, like, if he was 14, then I would be like, all right, I'm not gonna force it, but 22-1 on top of him being the best, in my opinion, best golfer in the field, I think is hard to ignore. Switching over to Axis here, I know you have Patrick Cantlay as well in this sort of range. So what are your thoughts there? And then we can move up the board a little bit.
Yeah, just to piggyback on Tom, I have Thomas at, I think I made him close to 22-1. So wasn't quite there, but I understand it. Perhaps I didn't give enough adjustment to his wedge short game. I could definitely see it, right? And we've seen him shape all the shots through the wind and all that at the Players and any other chance he's gotten recently. So completely understand that one. But yes, I went with Cantlay instead at 26-1, which was on FanDuel. So Cantlay I actually have as the 3rd best golfer in the field. I think I made him I made him 18.5. It just, the thing he does the worst is accuracy. So that's kind of out the window this week. He's got, like I said, I preferred a little extra distance. He has that. The iron play is above average. His around the green play is quite above average, as well as putting. Again, we talk about it. I was on him last week. It's hard to watch, but it's effective. Whatever he's doing is a little penguin waddle. And he finished 4th last week. It was a very steady tournament for him. He didn't have any highs or lows. He was just very steady. Tee to green, he gained in all 4 categories. He's been just very consistent, hasn't got that solo win. He had the team win with Xander, in which they both played pretty well, even in their individual rounds. He did miss the cut of the PGA Championship. He does have, I wrote about this, he does have this issue in majors, it seems. He is allergic to them finishing well. But so was Patrick Reed until he think Patrick Reed only had one top 10 before he won his Masters. So sometimes it just happens, these talented guys who we think can get it done. Just, I don't know if it's pressure, if it's just it's 4 times a year. I don't know, but he has all the tools. He's talented in all 4 strokes gained categories. And again, I think his short game is actually quite good. And I don't think he's talked about enough when we talk about these guys who have these really good short games between putting and around the green. I just think everything sets up very well for him. He's been playing extremely well. Hopefully he can, it doesn't appear to be any wind at the moment, which is unfortunate. So hopefully if wind picks up, he can dodge that as well. And I would not be shocked in the least. I don't think anyone would be shocked if Patrick Cantlay won this. I just think, again, I had him as the 3rd best golfer in the field. 26-1 was just a great number.
Yeah. Also, this whole major thing just bugs me. It's like just the most random, smattering, pick 4 events, pick 4 random events from every season of a golfer, and you're gonna see these trends emerge too. There's some of the randomness, and when it clicks, like you said, it clicks. He's a supremely talented guy. So I made him 25-1. So I am a little lower than market, but obviously that wasn't enough to get me there fully. But I don't mind betting sort of any finish position markets on him, because everything else pretty much I showed actual value on. So throw in a top 10 or a top 20 here and there, and I definitely have value on those. So next up we have Hideki, who both of you are on, so I feel a little left out, but we will, as I mentioned, get to the one that all 3 of us hit. Alex, why don't you tell us a little bit about Hideki before we move on to some of these longer shots?
Everything that I said about Justin Thomas pretty much applies to Hideki. World class with his irons, world class around the greens, benefits from the lack of predictive value of putting. He also, if you're looking at his 4 strokes gain category, or 5 strokes gain categories, including both driving distance and driving accuracy, he's world class with his irons, world class around the greens, and then he's just pretty long. He's just semi-accurate, and he's bad on the green. So the course fit model this week just makes him a phenomenal fit. I have him at 1.42 baseline expected strokes gained, 3.12 course fit expected strokes gained. Some massive, massive difference. So if the course fit model comes to fruition this week, it'll mean that Hideki is set up for a ton of success. In fact, I think that he and JT, if I recall correctly from my U.S. Open correlation matrix, I believe that they are among the most correlated studs on the board.
Yeah, I don't have a ton to add to that, honestly. He's just elite tee to green. He doesn't have it on the greens often. That's the problem. Can he overcome that here? I don't know, but
that's who we like.
That's what happens though. It's more of it's you're gonna give me a guy he sets up to be there. So he won a green jacket. He won in Sony. It's not like he doesn't win or hasn't won. Yeah, he's not an elite winner, but I don't know. I like the each way. I got him on each way too with 7 places, so that even gives me a little more variance reduction on him, perhaps missing some short ones that keep him from winning. But I really liked the 55-1 alone as well.
I'd also say I don't love to speculate in this way, but I think we can pretty confidently say that the slower greens should, in theory, benefit him because of his lengthy putting stroke. And so the slower greens mean you can hit the ball harder, which means he should be less likely to decelerate in his putting stroke, which, of course, is one of the issues that he has struggled with throughout his entire career. So if you want to lend that in, I don't like to make that argument, and I certainly am not depending on that argument to find value here for him. But if you're somebody who feels like you need a reason to expect a better putting week for him, I think that would be it.
Yeah, and I think I looked at he's gained on the greens 4 weeks in a row. It's not like he can't do it. It's just habitually he doesn't. And when it's bad, it's bad. It's like, oh my God, what are you doing? like, yeah, you're one of the best in the world and you're putting like I do. Like,
Yeah, in fact, it's interesting. Like my baseline number for him now is negative 0.18. In past years, it's been significantly worse than that. And in fact, his long-term number is negative 0.34, but plus 0.21 in the last 20 rounds and plus 0.11 in the last 50. So maybe he has figured something out, and the model's going to be a little bit slower to react because, you know, the model is basically saying like, yeah, we see guys show this type of putting form for upwards of 50 rounds, and it's not actually anything a lot of the time. So, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if over the next 6 months or so he reverts back to that really bad putter. But there's also the possibility he's gotten better, and the model is accounting for that a little bit since his baseline has come up from the negative 0.34 long term to negative 0.18. So there's hope for him on the greens for sure.
Right.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think he's another guy who was sort of right on my threshold. I had a little bit more value on Burns in the same range and went there. I don't really know why. I can't really make a terribly strong case for him because he has seemed to have faltered a little bit here recently, but you know, the numbers are the numbers, and he's, I don't know. I think that he has. I think I'm gonna know very quickly if there's a shot on him. I think it's gonna either all be there, and he'll be, you know, in like the top 5 after the first round, or he'll be, you know, like +8, tied for 118th or whatever. All right, Alex, you have a couple of quite a few bombs. One that we all agree on. But who do you like in this sort of this triple digit range here to wrap up your card?
This is the most action that I've had all year, and that actually includes a Sam Burns future from back in December at 100-1. So I'm with you on that bet. I hope he comes through for you at 50 because that would be a pretty nice payoff for me. I have a handful down here. I think my favorite is not the one we have consensus on. It's actually Webb Simpson. Similar story. Like he's very good with his irons, and he's elite around the greens. That's just basically what I'm going for. And actually, you know, he's also a good putter. He's fairly accurate off the tee. So the course fit model, like it of course is a great fit for him, but there's also plenty of room for him to still succeed if something about St. Andrews is unique relative to the other Open Championship courses, because he's just strong all around. The one aspect that he's not is driving distance. But you know, he hits a tumbling drive, so he should have the distance here. So I really, really like Webb here. I think that we've started to see some real flashes from him. You know, in his last, or I should start with his long-term strokes gained per round is at 1.22. It wasn't anywhere close to that for a long time this season. It's up to 0.61 now in the last 20, 0.59 in the last 50. So he's coming back, and what I really like to see is 0.55 strokes per round over the last 20, gained with his irons. So the iron play is back. That's the biggest one. And actually the one place that he's faltered in those last 20 rounds is putting. Is at negative 0.19, long-term average of 0.4. So if he gets the putter going the way we're accustomed to seeing Webb roll the ball, he could be in contention. And that's what I'm chasing at a number like 150 or 160-1.
Yeah, with you. All right, Axis. Who else you got?
Yeah, and I have 3 pretty deep ones too, and which is again not normal for how I normally see things shake out. But I mean, I think my favorite of the bunch, like I went back to Cam Young at 130-1. That's a baseline number bet, and that is just not a FOMO bet, but I don't love him here, but just compared to my number, I took the 130. But my favorite one would be Keith Mitchell at 125-1. I grabbed an each way on that as well. I thought the T7 number was a really great value, but I like the 125-1 as well. And the narrative I will spin for that is it is mainly his baseline. He's been playing very well, really since the middle of May. And although the irons are not always consistent, the around the green is okay. He's really good off the tee, so he should be putting himself in decent chances to get looks at the green, to have good shots. Whether he hits them or not is a different story. But he is a really, really good putter, and I would not be shocked to see him putting more around the green and off the green. I mean, he just seems like that would benefit him based on his statistics. I don't have any like great lag data for Keith Mitchell that I used in that. I assume, again, assumptions in golf are tough, but when you are a good putter, you have some feel that you're probably a solid lag. I mean, if you gain as much as him, you have to be a solid lag putter as well, I imagine. So that's kind of how I spun it. I was going to bet it anyway, but it's not like necessarily the best course fit, but even with some of those knocks, I felt the number was just outrageous, and I see his name getting thrown around for DFS quite a bit as well. And I get it. I mean, 36 last week, 6th, 7th, 18th, 34th, 76th are his last 6 tournaments. So would Keith Mitchell winning be shocking? Yes. Keith Mitchell being a major champion at this point would shock me. But again, I that doesn't matter. I mean, Cam Young would have shocked me at the PGA Championship, and we bet it at 80 or 90 to 1, whatever it was, because that's what the number said. And sure, it's very rare, but so is a 90 to 1 win. Like, do the probability. It's not something that happens very frequently. So that's why I grabbed the each way too. I thought that was a really good value on 7 places that Rivers was offering.
Yeah. My card rounder outer is Taylor Gooch here at 150. I don't want to root for it, but I had to do it. I just think it's a stupid number. I don't really fully fathom why. Why is it why?
You're not living.
I'm curious. What did you actually make him?
What did I make Gooch?
Yeah. Because I don't know if I'm just crazy,
90
but
maybe.
Okay, all right, maybe I am crazy. I don't know.
I would have said 70 to 80.
I made 74.
Yeah, I made him 63. I
mean, that's not wildly different. I mean,
I don't.
It's a bad number. I mean, I opened this up
and
I was just like, holy crap! And then I went and checked. So I saw a few high numbers. So then I was like, well, I'm gonna go check Bet Rivers again, since they've had already 2 that I bet, and they had, I believe it was 175 at the time with the each way, and it was just like, yes, or no, it was Fox Bet 175 to 1. So it's only at 5 places, top 5, but it's a 44 to 1 top 5. I was like, yes, please. Like that, it just doesn't make sense. I don't care, course fit, whatever. His just baseline talent skill is better than that number.
Yeah, it's 44 to 1 for a top 5. I wish I had Fox.
His baseline talent is way too good for this number, and he's also a perfect fit for this type of golf. 0.45 gain per round baseline approach play, almost a quarter of a stroke around the green. He's inaccurate off the tee, so he benefits there. He only gains 0.17 putting, so sort of benefits there. Like, everything about this is great. And then he also is one of the most volatile players in this price range, so he's got the ceiling to contend with the ceiling of the other guys. So, like, you know, when I'm looking for a long shot, like, one of the things that I want is I want to know that if he's playing really well, he's going to have a chance. He doesn't also need some studs to falter, or he doesn't need like some big time collapse down the stretch where the winning scorer is only going to win 5% of the time, and it just so happens to be this week that type of score wins. Like, Gooch could win in a week where there are studs playing well, and so I just, again, like, I think this is at least like double what he should be.
Yeah, hopefully he remembers there's a cut.
Yeah.
He finished 9th in London in that first foray. He then missed the cut at the U.S. Open, followed that up with a nice 7th in Portland. Again, that's 7th out of 50 or 48 guys. But I don't want to root for him either. And he's a dummy. Like, he's been just spewing. And it's like, I wanted nothing to do with this. And it's like, again, it's in my face. I'm betting a number, not a golfer. Like, that's the separation of fan and the betting. Like, it's It's ugly. You plug your nose, you hit submit, and then I open the app on Sunday and like, maybe, hopefully, like, wouldn't be the end of the world. And that would send golf sphere just in a tornado. If you, not only would it be Taylor Gooch winning a live golfer, but just after everything he's been saying the last month, it would just be, just amazing. This probably isn't as exciting though as Portland. I mean, this probably isn't Ryder Cup-esque for him. So we'll see if he can find some excitement and motivation to play this week.
It would be so interesting to see if a live guy does win. Like, one thing we always see when someone wins is you get like the really positive, feel-good stories written about them. What happens if a guy wins? Like, is it going to be, he's dealt with the controversy of having to deal with all of the issues and all the questions, and he was able to battle through it and get the win? Or do they stay negative on him and kind of just, illuminate the fact that this is a really weird thing that just happened?
I imagine it'll vary publication to publication. Some have been and again, I'm not saying you have to like it, but some is just like, that's negative to be negative. Some are overly spinning it to the point where like, are you being funded by them as well, since they're buying everything else? Like, that's everything, right? That's not unique to this situation. There's publications and media for a side of everything, but that will surely be interesting if it ever I mean, Dustin Johnson is here. I would not be shocked about him winning. Oosthuizen has history with links, and particularly here as well. I don't think that would be shocking again if one of those two could figure it out. It would really depend on who it is too, I think. I just think with everything he's said leading up to this, it would be amazing content coming out if he somehow managed to win this. Just outside of being, even if it wasn't on live, Taylor Gooch winning the Open would be something. You don't really have too many surprise winners in majors. And wow, since I can remember, outside of Phil, I can't remember hardly anything that was just truly like, wow.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely been a while. All right, fellas. I think that just about does it. I mean, we're obviously just hoping to watch the world burn and be able to victory lap our three-headed monster play here and just ride off into the sunset after this win, right?
Absolutely. Oh, the alarm is set for very early Thursday morning. This is the best tournament. I mean, I love the Masters because it's the first one. It breaks the ice of no majors in months. Like, it just feels like the buildup is amazing. But this is by far my favorite tournament to watch every year. And this whole stretch, if you're into links golf, follow the DP World Tour after this. I mean, they're staying in Britain. I think it's between Scotland, Wales, England, Ireland for like the next 4 weeks. Like, it'll be really great the next month if this is what you're into.
Yeah, that's a good point too, as far as the time zone, whether you're playing DFS or trying to place bets, make sure you're paying attention to that so that you don't miss out and get locked out of contests, especially I guess more for DFS purposes. If you're waiting until 5 minutes before tee time to bet, then that's a whole nother conversation. But DFS wise, I think that you should be paying attention.
Let's hope nobody wakes up at 7 a.m. to withdraws that they weren't awake for at 2 a.m.
Oh my God, I'm hoping
the ultimate. As long as it's not my guy. Let me rephrase.
Nothing makes me happier than the withdrawals after lock. It just makes me so happy that people just continue to scream into the abyss. It'll never not entertain me. I don't know what's wrong with me, but it's hysterical every time it happens. Whenever I see it happen, I'm just like, gotta load up Twitter.
And it happens all the time. It's just normally not anybody relevant. Like, guys withdraw literally every week. You just don't. Yeah. It's rarely a relevant guy to our world.
Right. Exactly. All right.
Hopefully it's not Gooch.
Well, good luck on your contest this week and on your cards as well, gentlemen. We will be back here again next week, same time, same channel, and we will talk soon. See you.